The show called Success What It Takes. And today's guest is a professional dancer, model, and actress. Some of her credits include the blockbuster comedy Tattoo, the hit TV series Penny Dreadful City of Angels, performing at the 87th Academy Awards, guest appearing in GLEE, The Voice, America's Got Talent, and more. She has toured the world with Andrea Bocelli and famous flamenco guitar player Benise, prior, of course, to the world going on lockdown. Please welcome Brittany O'Connor.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. Thank you. Yes, all prior to lockdown. And here we are.
Thank you, Brittany, for joining me. I just want to start with saying that I was amazed for the first time I met you. It was watching you dance live with Jordi at Andrea Bocelli concert that me and my wife attended last June. And it was really amazing to see. And I knew Georgie before, and then as soon as he entered and he opened his arms, and I can see that red T-shirt red shirt coming out from his suit. So I was like, that's a Georgie, because I was sitting pretty far, and then they were showing close up on a big screen, and I recognized you because I've seen your pictures and your work before from my dear friend Paul Barris, and I was like, oh, okay, I know that girl, and then we got lucky work later together. So, but tell us, please, how it is to travel the world with the phenomenal voice Andrea Bocelli for over 4 years.
Honestly, it's been 4 years, but it still feels like every time I'm on tour or I set foot on stage, it's the first time. I still get butterflies. And the most special thing about the tour, yes, I get to do what I love, and I have creative say over what dances I get to choreograph and the choreography, the lighting, the costumes, but it's a family. Like, that to me is something that's so different from other tours. His entire family comes on tour with us. He has a daughter, Virginia, who's like my little sister. Even like her nanny, who's also now one of my best friends, played it. So it's every time you get to go on that stage or you go on tour, it's like you're reuniting with some of the most humbled, simple individuals. And I learn so much every time I get to be around them, every tour, every city. And one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned just being around Andrea was he had made a comment before that it's not about the money, it's about the connection of the people. It's about the emotion behind it. And it really stuck with me a few years later about, here's this man who has, as everyone knows, the most magical voice, and the way he lives his life, the way he instills around the people around him, it's just to enjoy every single day and to feel completely at home and to be trusted in with that tour. It far exceeded any kind of expectation I had. For most tours you go on, you are the dancer, right? You're a backup dancer, and very rarely do you get to be a guest artist. And so they highlight, originally I had started dancing with Paul, and then Jordi came on tour. So with myself and whoever partnered, they highlight us as our own entity. So not being a backup dancer, we're really our own showcase. And to be able to have that trust and be able to have that open communication with him, his wife, the tour group, the promoters, it's not just a job to me. It's honestly is my family. And it was only supposed to start off with one tour, and they had never had dancers before. And they tried us, and I remember one of the first things that the promotion company said, the promoters were like, well, let's see if you impress us. And I'm like, we will. And you go in, and it was an investment even before going in. And so I guess they liked what they saw, because here I am 4 years later. And like I said, it's just having that open communication with them that has really made it so special. And there's not that wall, because you would think with an artist like that, they would be essentially kind of untouchable. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you can go and have a conversation with Andrea like he's your neighbor. You can go and have a conversation with his wife Veronica like she's your aunt or your mother. It's so close. And maybe that's the Italian culture, but I'm very lucky and very blessed.
Yeah, wow, it sounds like they really welcomed you into. And
yeah, they're amazing people. Really amazing.
To continue in the same topic of welcoming you on board, I've heard that Andrea Bocelli didn't have any dancers ever performing with him and
Yeah.
you're the first one. Is that like crazy? You pretty much became a visual symbol of his behind his magical voice, because people, it's like for us dancers, we express the music. So when we move,
Hmm.
people see people see that, like they actually hear the music better the way we
Yeah.
move. That's
Yeah.
what we dancers do. So you become this first and pretty much the only now, the symbol of Andrea Bocelli voice. How did that happen?
It was so random, honestly. Like, so how it happened, they actually had, it's interesting how this industry works. So I had been studying ballroom with Paul. He started teaching me. And then from there, oh, hey, it's working. Okay, there we go. And so from there, he so I had started doing a more commercial work, and it was known that I do fusions and a ballroom ballet. So I had done a job, I think it was for Toyota, which I didn't know one of the promoters for Andrea was working on that job. And he actually, they were talking about how they were thinking about bringing dancers in, called my roommate, and my roommate at the time was like, I have the perfect girl for you, and referred me. So then I submitted my materials, a little bit about me, and they had said that this is the first time that they're going to have dancers on. They're not sure which way it's going to go. It might possibly be a future for tours, but they're just seeing it as a trial run. So again, I went in there thinking that there was a possibility for the future. And like you said, for me, dance, my job as a dancer is to express the song to the audience. Like, I believe that I am there to help the audience find that emotion, help that audience to escape the reality, whether that's in a memory or in a fantasy. And so going on this tour, I really took the time, they wanted specifically a tango, to study the songs, to study the words of it and create a story to it. Because you can get the most amazing dancers, but if they're unable to connect the movement to the song, then there is no connection. All it is just a dance and words. And I mean, honestly, let's be real. Andrea doesn't need anything, right? Like, it's Andrea Bocelli. He is amazing in himself in that stage and full size arena. So I really wanted to bring something that added on and helped the audience move out of that moment in time and really connect with him from a visual standpoint, incorporate other senses. And so, yeah, and so like I said, that was our first tour, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen afterwards. They said that they were really happy. They loved the story that Paul and I brought and how we were really able to capture the words of the song, and even having the live orchestra. And I think what really helped me with that was I've always danced with a live orchestra, being from the ballet world. I was part of a ballet company. And then as well, Paul having the ballroom, and it's a different, fusing both of our backgrounds together brought something a little different. And then we got a call maybe a couple months later asking our availability for the December tour. And we're like, okay, great. Like, we did it. Like, let's just keep doing what we're doing and continuously pushing. So after each concert, we're both very much perfectionists, where we would watch our video and keep tightening what we had. And okay, well, this moment didn't make sense, where we wanted it to be organic enough where we were on stage and you would get lost in it, but as well with that technique behind it. And so through the years, we just continued moving forward with that. And then there was a time that Jordy actually was able to join me on tour. And so he brought a different kind of life as well to the songs and to the dance, which I've been very blessed to have two amazing partners and very different in their own way as well. And so I just feel very lucky that we're on 4 years. And as you know, like with any job, I never want to sit in contentment. Like, I'm there. A lot of the same cities are the same. So I'm there for the audience. Like, I want every time the audience member sees me, it's a different experience they have. And that's something that Andrea has also instilled with me, where his performance, each night it's a little different. And that's the beauty in live performance. And so I've really taken that lesson from him and being on tour in every other aspect of my performing career. And I mean, 4 years later, and we're still going. I actually just expanded worldwide with them. I had the pleasure of dancing in Sicily and Taormina in a Greek amphitheater. which was a dream come true to have Andrea right there. And that was my first time as a soloist with him. So it was just myself. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I mean, at one point they had me go out there and freestyle. And I was like, who just improvs during Andrea Bocelli? But it was quite an experience.
Wow, you know what? I also heard that Andrea Bocelli likes to know the place he's performing in, so he will walk all the way till the last row to feel the depth of the place. So, does he know like how he were explained or you were explaining him? What are you dancing next to him? How that looks for Armen?
So the first tour, we didn't have much interaction. I think I was so starstruck, and I don't get starstruck, but I remember I grew up with Andre, and I was like, what? And so I was a lot with his daughter, and so I remember one time I got off stage, and as we know, Andre is blind, and mind you, he has like the best sense of humor as well, even when it comes to it. So he was walking off stage with me, and he grabbed me. He's like, "You were absolutely beautiful tonight." I was like, what? Okay. But so through conversations and getting to know him, I explained to him what I do, and like his wife will have him and like touch my costumes, and we'll talk about me. And like I said, Polita, who's like one of my like best friends, she lives with the family. And so between his daughter and Polita and the wife, they've really, I think, created an image for him of what I'm dancing. And as well as the end of some songs, so there was a surprise moment. We did Maria from West Side Story. And I asked his wife, Veronica, if it would be okay. And he didn't know that at the end of the song, the first time I did it, I would bore, it was on point, and I would grab his hand and put my head on his shoulder. So it was fun to have that little surprise moment. And then I would explain to him, so since that was Maria from West Side Story, he was the main character singing about this beautiful woman. That's who I was. And then at the end, we came together. And so really trying to explain to him. And then, like I said, through the years, we've just created a relationship as well with myself and the family and with Andrea. So he asks us the questions that he wants. And I'm very lucky that Veronica and the family support me so much. And now his little girl wants to be a ballet dancer. So I know she talks a lot about me, but it's great.
Wow, that's really good. So it means he heard a lot about you.
Yes. But like I said, the first time he was like, "You're beautiful." I was like, "What?" I was like, he's like, "How funny would it be if I wasn't blind?" I was like, "Wait, are you?" He's like, "Yes, I'm blind." I was like, "Okay." But I think as well, just from the energy, they say when you lose one sense, you gain another sense or a stronger sense. And I really believe in like energies, and that's something every time I step on that stage, I don't hold back. I really pour my heart out onto that stage. And I explained to people, I think dance was my first true love. Like, it wasn't a person, it was really like an unconditional love. And that's why kind of during this quarantine, it's been a little difficult, because it can kind of feel like a heartbreak, a breakup, because you don't have it anymore. So when I'm out there, it's like if you were to close your eyes, you can feel a present next to you. And when I think two artists share that, you don't necessarily need to be able to see, or you don't even need words. You can really feel that amongst between each other. So I think that really has a lot to do with it as well.
Wow, that's so beautifully, like I can see what you're talking about. That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing this. Is there any incidents happened at the live concerts? Because as a live performance, you don't have ability to take a second take.
A lot of things happen. So, oh my goodness, a lot. Oh, hi, Danny. A lot of things have happened. And so I think for me, because I grew up in live performance, I know that anything can happen and you just have to keep going. But sometimes with my partners, it's a different world. And so there's been times that like some of my partners have forgotten choreography and they just take a step back, and I'm like, and just kick it out and do something. And then you rejoin each other. So that's been fun. But that's happened. I mean, I've had costumes break on stage. Andrea, like, I've gone out there and it started a wrong kind of song, and I've had a freestyle. And like I said, so in Tormina, actually, we had a different conductor, and the setup was different, that no one told me that everyone comes out to dance time to say goodbye. So the first concert we had, I didn't come out because no one had told me, but all the other guest artists had. And so at that time we had a flutist, a soprano, and a pop artist. So the second night, the promoters and his wife was like, "Oh, you should go out there." I'm like, and do what? And I was like, so what do you do during this? And then, bless her soul, the pop artist was like, oh, just go and dance. I was like, just go and dance out like on the stage. I mean, of course, everyone knows this song, but improv, that was probably the scariest moment because, mind you, that's like a 4.5 minute song. And so this little part of the stage, and it's a smaller stage than I'm used to, and I don't like crossing in front of the artist, so I stay in my little corner. And again, I mentioned Polita a lot because she is literally my saving grace, and she was at this concert where panicking. No matter how many years I've done this, I'm panicking before, and I'm like, I can't just go out there and freestyle. She's like, well, Britt, they asked you to, and like, just be yourself. Just go out there and be yourself. I have never really experienced that moment where you go out there and you black out. Like, I just think I blacked out. I don't even know what happened. I watched a video and I was very proud of myself because it actually looked really good. But that was probably the scariest moment. You really have to be on your toes and trust who you are, especially with that situation. Because, I mean, what are you going to say? No? Or like, go out there to dance. You can't tell your bosses no. I'm like, no, I'm okay. You just go out there and you're like, let's just do it. Like, so that's been the scariest. I mean, I've fallen off a stage before. That wasn't too fun. And then you just get up and you're like, and you just keep going. Thankfully, I haven't done that for Andrea. Yeah, there's been a lot. I've forgotten choreography as well. And I really believe in just commitment. No matter what happens, just commit to what is happening. And no one else knows. The audience typically are not dancers. So again, what they want is to have a feeling, to leave with an emotion. So that's what I try and give them. I'm like, I might not know what I'm doing out this improv, but you're going to leave with an emotion.
Beautiful. Yes, a lot of dancers listening to this now understand that number one, improv is pretty scary, and number two, most of ballroom dancers get used to competition routine, which is more than 1 minute and 10 seconds. Okay, accent dance studio students doing a lot of show dances, which is 2 minutes.
Right.
But 4.5 plus you never practice and you just go and freestyle. That is pretty scary. Yes, it takes guts to do that.
Small stage, and mind you, like in an audition, you can get on the floor and do floor work. There was no floor work. There was no traveling on the stage. I didn't have a partner. I mean, maybe it was better that I didn't have a partner and be like, lift me up. But there was nothing. And it's like, what for? And I still, to this day, I'm like, probably the longest but shortest and scariest 4.5 minutes of my life.
Wow. So I know you started dance first as a tap dancer.
Yeah.
How it happened that you transitioned to ballet, I believe at the age of 14? What did motivate you, and how you got you stuck with it?
So I was 14, and like you said, I started off as a tap dancer. My mom, actually, I don't know if you know who, I'm sure you do, Bob Fosse. Mm-hmm. So I saw Fosse, their touring group, come to Tampa, Florida. So my mom took me, and in the middle of that show, I was like, this is what I want to do. Hands down. I was like, I want to dance for Fosse, and I want to be a professional dancer. And so my mom was like, okay, let's go stand by the stage door. And I was so scared. I was very tiny and like nerdy and like very quiet. So she made me stand by the stage door, and she goes, Brittany, the only way you'll know is by asking questions. And even to this day, I still keep true to that in any aspect. So I stood by the stage door and I asked every dancer that they came out. Mind you, this is after a show. You know, they just want to get home. But they were all so nice. And they're like, you have to get into ballet. And mind you, I hated ballet at this point. You could not. I was a tomboy. I wanted to tap. I wanted to be cool. I played softball. And I was like, yeah, is there any other thing I can do besides that? They're like, ballet is the base of everything. So my mom in the car was like, Brittany, if this is really what you want to do, you have to get into a ballet studio. So I found a ballet studio the next day, Diane Partington's in Bradenton, Florida. So I went in there and I was like, yeah, I've had dance and I've done ballet. And she's like, oh, where? And I was like, Sarasota Ballet. She goes, oh, I've taught there. And I was like, well, I took one class. And I was like trying to show that I was flexible. And I just didn't want to be in the class with the younger girls. And so she put me in the class actually with girls my age. And I was only able to take 2 classes a week. But what I loved about it was the technique behind it. And I think that's why I love ballroom so much as well in the transition, that there's a true technique and form to everything. So it really makes sense in my brain. Like if you do this and this, it gets you to this. And then of course you have your stylization, but my brain is more in a mathematical aspect, in a mathematical way. So, and I'm highly competitive. And so here I am, 14, the worst. Like I was awful. I had just gotten my splits. Like I had a Russian teacher and I was crying all the time in this class, but each one of them would take time with me afterwards. And in that first year, I started watching ballet and this is what I want to do. And the Fosse company had closed. So that was out of the question. And then I just gave it everything that I had to become a professional dancer. And then ballet, my body was just kind of made aesthetically for ballet, and I had amazing teachers, and I went with that. I started going to summer intensives, and went to my first company when I was 17, so 3 years later. And yeah.
But is that considered really late starting
Yeah.
at 14 and be able to get to any sort of company by 17?
Yeah. And I mean, by all means, I wasn't the strongest dancer. I know like my legs and feet, I have extremely hyperextended legs and feet. So aesthetically it helped me. But what everyone has always told me that separated me was the love that I had for it. So anytime I auditioned for a summer intensive, yes, I was so focused on my technique, but I breathed. A lot of my dancers that I mentor, we hyper focus so much on perfection that we forget who we are at the end of the day. Like, what is our job? Our job is to create an emotion in the audience. And so when you go into an audition, yes, instill your technique, but you've been working towards that your entire time. Like whatever you think you're going to change in that moment isn't going to change. It's all muscle memory at that point once you get your adrenaline in there. So really showing how much you love and you're breathing through it separated me from everybody else. Because as well as if you think about it, the auditioners are going to 20-something cities. So they're seeing girls that are better, prettier, skinny, it doesn't matter. But what makes you stand out? And so that was something I always was taught and I instilled in myself, and as well as with the girls that I'm developing now. It's hard to teach love. It's hard to teach passion for something. And
Absolutely.
so you can have the most perfect, and as you know in ballroom, you can have the most perfect technique, but it's like watching a wall, right? You want to leave, and you want to, you're at least in ballet as well, especially in ballet, you're there to create a character. You know, again, that emotion, it's so important, and that we forget about that because it is just like ballroom, it's very technical, but there's also another side to it that is equally as important.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. I myself tell all my students that ballet is a foundation to everything. I got lucky that no matter how much I was hating ballet and I was hating wearing tie, well, I was forced to do so because I enrolled to the dance college to get a choreographer degree. But major was ballet, 5 times 3 hours a day, 5 times a week, 3 hours a day, and the folk dancing. So there was only 4 boys and over 30 something 4 girls in the class. So the other boys came from ballet.
Right.
So it was already college, right? And I'm a ballroom dancer. I came for the choreography diploma. So when I was standing in the black ballet tights, black t-shirt, and the black socks, and only white ballet slippers, because that time in South Russia, that was Krasnodar, you could not buy a leather or black type of ballet slipper. So it has to be white. Everybody had white or pink. So imagine me all black and in the white ballet slippers. I hated that much that in 4 years of the college, I don't have a single picture to date. It's never been even taken.
I was going to ask that. I'm like, please, I can't see this.
Now, yes. Now I feel bad. I say, I wish I took a picture to laugh at it now and post throwback. But what I was saying that to all my students that when you do ballet and ballroom, it's 2 disciplines that you not just, there's a books written on what to do, how to do, and the steps and movements and weight transfer. And I can teach a Rumba walk, I don't know, like a 3 months everyday workshop just on the Rumba walk forward, and then another 3 months on the Rumba walk back. So ballet is so technical, even more technical than ballroom, I always say. And ballet dancers can learn ballroom.
Yeah.
And I did teach a lot of ballet dancers who want to be on stage and can dance, and they were taking privates with me in preparation of ballroom dancing. Yes, they're a little bit stiff. They don't
Right.
understand the
Yeah.
settling into the hip, but they can do it. The bottom line, they can do it. Now, take a ballroom dancer or any other dancer and ask to dance on points, no one can do it.
Yeah.
So I put always ballet is on the top of pyramid, and then I will put a ballroom and contemporary next to it, and so on, so on. And the disciplines don't have neither books, neither legit competitions or institution where you can enroll and study in college.
Right.
These are I consider more as a hobby.
Yeah.
So, but ballet and ballroom, especially like I don't know, there's impossible for you to go and say, hey, I just want to dance on point, and you just end up in hospital. You never walk again.
I know. That's why it kills me sometimes when I see it in our industry. I've had girls being like, oh, I'm going to go to this ballet audition. How do I sew my point shoes? I'm like, what? I'm like, it's what? Like, you can't just pop up and be like, oh, I've been doing it. You know, it's crazy. But I will say, not knowing that you had ballet training, it makes so much sense on why you're an amazing partner. Like when we were in Penny Dreadful and you were doing some tricks with me, the way you were able, and I think I'm like, we're the same height, like the way you were able to pick me up, I find it a lot of ballroom dancers don't partner, or even any kind of dancer, like hip hop, contemporary, there's a different way of partnering. And it makes so much sense now on why your partnering skills are the way they are. I'm like, oh, because knew how to lift me up. And I'm very leggy, as you know, but you knew the position.
You are taller than me.
But like I felt so light when you were partnering me, especially with the double tootsie or the double churro, like, or what do you call it? The thick.
Yeah, it's a toss in the air that you do full 360 and go back into the arms.
I'm like, it was so easy. And I think a lot, or just any other things that you have done with me, where knowing where to partner someone, I think it's especially important for men, even just to take a ballet partnering class. But yeah, I do think that also helps separate me in the ballroom aspect of having the ballet background. Yes, the best thing is to watch ballet dancers try and do jazz in ballroom. It's like, we're so stiff. We're like, what is sitting in our hip? You know, and that was probably one of the most difficult things was when Paul was teaching me, he was like, okay, and now settle. I'm like, so you mean sink? He's like, no, just settle in and walk forward. And I was like, my body doesn't do that. And so teaching yourself that it's okay to be in your heel and transferring your weight. One of the most difficult things though I've done is on one point shoe and then one ballroom shoe. We did a rumba. And that is like both of your brain is working in two different ways, because one side you're completely pulled up and you partner, like, you know, in ballet you have your S curves, but everything is equal or pushing down. While in ballroom it's leading and you have the resistance more this way. Hand grips are different. So it's like continuously switching. And it gave me a whole new respect for ballroom though, because yes, even though ballet is the base of everything, I think that's why I was saying I love ballroom so much, because there's so much technique behind it, and a lot of people forget. They're like, oh, I can just walk, settle. Just the walk. Like, you know, Malene, I think she used to teach for you.
Yeah.
She would work with me over and over and over on my walks, and I would go home and just practice, because those are so important, just the settling and the way you walk the line. And I love it, and I still get lost in bar. I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful to watch. And so I really try and bring both of those, because I also can't have a ballet partner for what I do, or very few dancers that are male ballet dancers can I use, because they're very stiff, right? Ballet dancers are much more stiff. But ballroom dancers tend to not be able to partner the way I need. So to be able to incorporate both is very rare, I find, to find partners like you, like Paul, like Jordy, where I can get a nice style of both.
Yes, you got lucky. I love Paul and I love Jordy. Yeah. I work with Paul so many projects, from Dancing with the Stars to stages, TV shows and stuff. And Jordy is my competitor actually. So my student Jiru is right now streaming live with us, and she's competing against Jordy's students. So we will
really
meet at the ballroom dance sport competitions where our students competing against each other. So he is phenomenal.
He is, you know, and I think what's so great is healthy competition, right? Like, you can have competition and it could be healthy. You still want the best for each other. Of course, like you want to win. Like, don't get me wrong. Of course, if you're going to do it, you want to win. But you can also cheer on the other person and have that healthy aspect versus, I don't know if it's the same in the ballroom world, but in the ballet world, or I even find it sometimes in our commercial world where people aren't happy and it's more happy for each other, or they're more vicious, and then they think that you can't be friends because you're competing against each other. And I'm like, there's a separation between work and who we are as people. So I think that's so important to instill as well with your kids, like you're saying, that healthy competition aspect. You can have it and then it's enjoyable. You can hope for the best for someone else and you do the best yourself. And then at the end of the day, you congratulate, you're happy for each other, you can be friends and move forward. And I think that's something that's so great, is that you, Paul, and Jordy are all friends. And it also, like, as a woman, like having my partners, I don't feel, because sometimes there can be animosity and you don't want that because you love what you do. And so I want to make sure that like it's a healthy environment, because this industry is hard enough anyways. And to be able to have everyone just show that it's possible to be healthy. And it's not that old school mentality where you hear stories of like dancers putting glass in each other's shoes or ripping up tutus. Like, times are changing. Like, you can be nice and be competitive.
Yes, this is something I absolutely believe in and I live by, because we are going to be dancing next to each other or
Yeah.
teaching or coaching 40 years from now. And this is very important to have the healthy competition. But speaking about Paul and Jordi compared me, they are taller
I
than
know.
you. So therefore you can dance with them, but not with me. With you, I can only
I
help you with tricks
know.
and assisting. But tell me, I believe you 5'10". How challenging is to find a partner, and in general, I believe ballet world is pretty shorter as well.
It was yes, it's so when I was younger I was very naive and I thought, oh, ballet dancers are tall. They're like 5'7" tall. I'm, like you said, I'm 5'10", and so it was very, when I was auditioning and finding studios, I had to find, or sorry, different companies, I had to find companies that had dancers my height, because again, so in a core you have to all be in a line, and so you have like your shortest to tallest, and to find those, it's a lot more limited. And so my pool of where I could work was smaller. And then same with this, finding a partner, a ballroom partner, that is probably one of the most difficult things. And I've had to find, when I was transitioning partners, finding, like, there are great dancers, but to fit my height, and then you put me in heels and I like 3 inch or even 3.5 inch, like, it's very difficult. And so I've held auditions and I'm lucky for the partners that I have. And that's why I also believe in, I'm so lucky and blessed, and respect is such a big part, because I need them, and it's a partnership, and so we can't have one without the other. I can't do ballroom or ballet by like a pas de deux by myself. So it's that equal respect of never having ego above the other. And then in the commercial world, I find it has been extremely difficult as well. I have 3 girls that are my bookends. And so I call and see if they're going to the audition. Because if I'm the only girl that's 5'10" auditioning for a TV show and the main call is like 5'4" to 5'7", or if it's an open call, I'm like, let's be realistic. There's not many girls in LA that are my height or dance the same way that I do. And so
Absolutely.
you already just typecast yourself out. And I'm very realistic. When I first moved there, I was trying to audition for everything. And I became wise very quickly, where I was like, okay, if it's an open call 5'2" and above, like, there's no way I would ever be close to a girl that's 5'2". But I am like, I wish you were taller, because I would love to dance with you. Like, or maybe I wish I was shorter. But I am very lucky to have both Paul and Jordy, and they're both very different in their own ways, but to have them both like as my partners, I don't think I could have gotten any luckier, honestly.
I believe the all dancers should be taller, not you should be shorter. Yes, and you are. If you come to audition, that Penny Dreadful was the last audition we did together,
Yeah.
side by side, pretty much. You are standing out. There is not a lot of girls tall that dance, and I believe in general for a tall people, it's more challenging to
Mhm.
become a great dancer.
Yeah.
So by you being in such aesthetic shape and tall and phenomenal dancer, it speaks a lot about your training.
Yeah.
So if you can share with us, because you were born in America, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like I come from the country where the training is like really tough.
Right.
And
I was
it's
always so jealous of you guys. I was like, why wasn't I born? I like wish someone put me in a conservatory when I was 5.
yeah, they smack us. They, which things really happen in the ballet world. They don't do this to ballroom, but you do adagio, and then they put a cigarette under your leg, and if you drop it, you'll burn your foot.
Oh yeah,
And burn your leg. So they do that. The
yeah.
teachers do that. They will like
Back
smoking a
to
pot,
you. Like,
yell at you, hit you. So how is your training look like starting from 14 when you joined ballet and going on becoming more serious about dancing?
um, I had a very healthy environment, but I did have a Russian teacher, and he was from the Bolshoi. That I think he was the one that really whipped me into shape. So to have that dynamic where my ballet teacher Diane, she was so nice that if she was disappointed, you knew you messed up. Like you never wanted to make her not happy. So there was that side. But then my Russian teacher, where he still instilled, his name was Philippe, had a lot of that Russian mentality where there wasn't emotion in class. You were to do it, you were expected to do it, you were not to talk back. But it was only in class, and then I got to know him outside, so I would stay longer and he would work with me one-on-one. I would tell my dad that class was actually done an hour later or a half an hour later, so then they would work with me in the studio. And that's where I learned the Russian mentality, that they're strict on you when they know that you have the potential and you can do it, and they don't allow you to give excuses for yourself. But then having that moment of that care and understanding that that's why he was so tough on me. But yeah, I've been whacked. There was one time, like, there wasn't like, oh, you can't do it, okay. He's like, no, you're going to do it, and everyone in this classroom is going to keep doing it until you get it. So then everyone else in the classroom hates you because you can't get it, and everyone's suffering together. I mean, he was like standing on my legs, but it was weird. And maybe in the ballet where that's like that strive, I don't know if it's a strive for perfection, but in any aspect, I don't take I can't as I don't say I can't. It's just figuring out how I'm going to do it. And maybe at this moment in time, I'm not able to, but I'm not going to stop doing it. And the ballet industry, or even in America, training in general is very different. So I was always very jealous. I wish I was born in Russia, so then I could have had that training, because it's very strict, and I like that. But I do think I'm very thankful and very blessed to have had that balance between very empathetic and nurturing with that Russian mentality. I think you need kind of both, as well as it makes you have a thick skin. Like this industry is not easy, and you think it's glamorous if you're not on the inside, but as all my dancers know, there's a lot more tears that go into it. There's a lot more questioning, but when you truly love what you do and you have the people there pushing you, it's not out of anger or they're mean to you. It's because they want you to reach what your goal is, what that profession, it's because they care. And so I really believe having that background, even a little bit of taste for the Russian background, really helped prepare me for this industry in the ballet world, as well as in the commercial world, which a lot of them never knew I would even want to go to the commercial world, but the ballet world, because you do hear no more times than not. And the reality is, and it's a sad reality, that there's someone younger always coming up. There's someone skinnier always coming up. There's someone that wants to be more. And so to have that self-motivation and that self-drive is extremely important. But like I said, I did have a nice balance between, you're going to do it, there's no excuse, I don't care if you're crying and I'm going to make fun of you and hit you, versus I believe in you, you've got this, and being more on the nurturing side.
I really like this. I forgot my teacher's done this to me, and I never did this to my students, to make entire class do it with you until you get it.
I'm so sorry to your students.
I'll definitely do this on my competitive group.
It's true. I mean, and I remember that's the worst feeling when all of your peers are staring at you like, just do it. And you're like, I'm trying, and you learn it really quick. You're like, I don't want to be put in that position again.
Beautiful. Well, before we go to questions, I want to ask you about our recent project, about Penny Dreadful, that premiered last Sunday, and I personally can't wait to watch the second episode tomorrow. Would you tell, please, our audience today, what we dancers symbolize in this uh, TV series. And obviously, I don't think we can speak much because it wasn't aired, but to give a general understanding why the dance in this movie, because looking at the first episode, it looks pretty aggressively, criminally, and you think like, there may
I
be,
was dancing in this.
yeah, like 104 dancers. What did they do there, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it really, what I loved about Penny Dreadful is that they stay very true to the cultures where at that time, and even now, again, dance is a means to escape. And so if anyone hasn't seen Penny Dreadful, it's very much based in the Latin community. And so even now with salsa dancing, for the Latin community, that's a means of escape. That's a way to communicate with your body. And so in this show, and I can't really tell you about the episode, but in our scenes where we're dancing, it's kind of it's the place where no matter what your background is, who you are, you can come together and just let go and be free without the racism, without the sexism. And so that's what I really loved about Penny Dreadful. It was an inclusive of all races. It's an inclusive of all genders. It's an inclusive of no matter who you love, what you love. And we come together and we all hear music and express it with our bodies. Music isn't bias in how we move. It's a universal language. And so that's what I really believe with Penny Dreadful. Our scenes that we're in, without giving away the show, it was a means to escape between the different levels in society, because we had, you know, the pachucas, we also had the swing, and so there was many different mixture. And again, you have your upper class, you have your lower class, but we all come together and dance. And it's really just the way to connect and escape the realities of that era, and as well as escape what's going on in today's time. You know, there's different, we're all there's how am I going to say it? So there's different things that each one of us face in society. And it actually goes to like working with, I'm an ambassador for an anti-slavery organization, where I really realized this. In India, we couldn't communicate with our words, but Bollywood is so big there. Like that is the way that they communicate, through song, through dance. And so not being able to communicate with different people, I was able to dance with them because I was also part of a Bollywood company, where I really took that. And I think that is how it is in any kind of world. You use the music to communicate through your body. And that's what I really loved about this. And hopefully you guys will understand that more you see the scenes, but it's definitely a place where everyone came together just to kind of escape, no matter who you were and where you're from.
And the beautiful thing about it, that all dancers felt their task to do, and not just to dance, because we had such, I mean, was for me so touching when the creator, John Logan, just came, grabbed a microphone, and to all of us, to 100 dancers, he explained the story, the why we're here, what we do here, and what we represent here. And you know, even though we were professional dancers hired, but because there were so many, at the moment you felt that the rehearsals, like you're like extra, you know, you're like just a background dancer, you're like no one gonna see you anyway. But when he spoke to us, he like you understood, you like a lead actor in this episode, because you represent this freedom of the what Spanish community especially was fighting for, because being, you know, different color was a problem. Being different, have a sexual beliefs was a problem. You know, all the way to, you know, being punished and being jailed and everything. So we were representing in this club a safe space where everybody can go and forget about being a different nation, different race, different sex, and just dance, just live life, being, you know, what right now is people describe as being present.
Yes. Yeah.
Being present at that moment in that place. That was like, I can't wait to see this scene. I'm not sure what, do you know what episode is that?
3, 6, and 9.
3, 6, and 9. Okay.
But it's like what you said, like very rarely do we get directors come and explain to us, because the reality is a lot of times we are kind of, you know, we feel like we're extras, and with that many people. But the fact that he came and he spoke to us, it kind of empowered, because we have all been in that situation. We have all experienced some sort of racism or prejudice, right? And so to be able to reconnect to that and create that space. Like, it didn't matter if the camera was on you. We were all in there, again, creating that emotion for the audience, which is our job. And to be able to have a director that respected us so much and to as well appreciate the power that we have as dancers to really create that emotion and that understanding and that scene, to me was such a breath of fresh air, because there has been times where I've been on set and you don't feel appreciated and you've spent your whole life training, but to have that moment, it makes you equally excited. And those are probably the longest days of shooting, but we were all in it together. We were all excited. It was an extremely long, like, tiring rehearsal process, but I think any person we talked to, it was so empowering for all of us. And I really, like, I hope, like, we get season 2 and we get to keep doing it, because it is such a pivotal part of the show. That I just think that for me, it kind of reinstilled that fire in the commercial world, because sometimes I can get a little, like, jaded or cynical about it. But to have that moment, like, you know what?
Yep.
Yeah, no matter how many people are in here, like, this is our job, and to be respected for that, it was so amazing. So I really applaud that entire team of Penny Dreadful, all the way to the choreographer Tommy, to really fighting for us and bringing us in and understanding that dancers, we do have a pivotal part in the entertainment industry, whether that's on tour, on TV, on competition. We are important in this world.
Absolutely. And also, as you're saying that, feel appreciated and meaningful to a production as a dancer means a lot, because a lot of dancers, even now, like, I ask young, especially hip hop dancers, I ask, what's your ultimate dream? And they're
Right.
like, dance with the, Madonna, Usher. And I
Yeah.
was like, hold on, you just said your ultimate life goal is be a backup dancer. So if we are, that's why my friend Alan, my dear friend Alan Walls, founded this world uh, dance choreography, right? World Choreographers Award, because we as a dance choreographers and dancers needs to be recognized, and hopefully one day go to Academy Awards as well, because the work we do, that's why ballroom dance considered being officially a dance sport, right? There's so much work done in it, but when we feel appreciated by production, all this hardship that we go through on the way to take this job, because as a freelancer, as a person who's doing jobs like in Hollywood, try to make it, you not guarantee your next week paycheck. There is
Yeah.
not, you don't have a contract signed for 20 seasons. You just have this gig. So tell us, please, what hardship did you go through and how did you overcome? Because you have a place in America, you have family in Florida, right? You can come back. For me, it's like, it's so far.
Right.
They say don't burn the bridges. I
Right.
purposely burned it. I wanted to understand that, dude, this guy, you don't have a way back.
Right.
There's nothing can happen that you will come back.
Yeah.
So I was nice about it, but I was like, I flipped middle finger. I said, I'm not coming back, kind of, but in a nice way.
Kind of similar in the sense, like, even though I have a place in America, I didn't allow myself to be like, oh, I have a place to go. It was like, you're doing it, like, there is no option to go home. I'm not, if I do something, I give it 100% of my all. And so the ballet world was different. So you get a salary, you're in a company, you get a contract, but the commercial world, like you said, it's very much gigs. And when I first came out here, oh my gosh, I mean, everyone tells you fake it till you make it. Well, that is probably the worst advice to ever give someone. Like, I think the best advice is to truly be the best possible version of yourself, because why try and be like someone else when they're always going to be one step ahead of you? And as well as, the reality is that everyone's trying to be like everyone else, right? So the people that stand out the most, like you're saying, my height, I'm tall, I'm skinny, like I stand out aesthetically, and so why would I try and be like someone else when I am not that person? So when I first came here, it was quite a shock, because I stood out so much and I didn't really know what to do with that. I mean, I was I was dressing up in drag to dance at a club to try and just make like $200 on like Wednesdays and Saturday nights. And then there was a time where I was trying so hard. This is when I wasn't being true to myself and just trying to be a hip hop dancer, all this stuff, that I couldn't feed myself. So I had to like put my apartment up for rent and stay with a friend. I went out on dates to try and like feed myself. So I would go on a date, take half of it home to be able to have food later. And it wasn't until one of my best friends, his name is Michael Pena. He is a choreographer for the Winter Olympics. He does all of the Tokyo Disney. Anyway, so he always himself, he was like, Brittany, you are a ballet dancer. Like, and you need to find what it is you are versus trying to be like everyone else. You know, be the best possible version of yourself. And it was at that moment that I realized that's truly how I'm going to become successful, you know, is create something that no one else is doing. And very few people can transition from the ballet world to the ballroom and fuse them together. So I don't just do, like when I perform with Andrea or galas, it's not straight ballroom and it's not straight ballet. So it's bringing the two together where it's something new, and as well as a lot of people, it's very difficult. And I don't allow myself to, when something's difficult, to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do it. I never gave myself that chance. Well, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to go home. It was, this isn't going to work out, figure a new way to figure it out, like problem solving. So like you, I didn't necessarily burn any bridges, but like I did burn that bridge back to Florida. I was like, I don't know. There's nothing for me to do there. And I'm not going to allow myself to think that I have that. This is it. And I'm going to go through the struggle because, again, this is what I love to do. And I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And that's just really what I've done in my way, and being true to myself, where I don't think, no matter what, I'm not too good for a $200 job. If it's something that I'm passionate about and if I need it, like, again, you're not promised a gig tomorrow. And so I coach and I do teach and I have guys, and I'm constantly trying to push myself forward and expand outside of the box versus getting content in what I have and thinking that everything is promised. I think the biggest problem is a lot of people get their egos in the way, and they think once they become, get a couple of jobs, that it's just expected to come to them, and that's not what it is. It's, you have to keep fighting for it. And I think the people that fight for it the hardest are the ones that don't allow themselves to think, oh, I could always go back. It's survival. It's really a fight or flight. And I think that you fight for it. When times get tough, it's not, oh, well, I can go home. No, it's like, well, all right, let's go. What's the next, how are we going to solve this? And I think that really shows as well your fight for it and how much you really love it. I don't give myself it. I love it so I can't imagine what else I would do. I wouldn't be happy of one life. I really believe in, if you love for it, you have to have dark with light. You have to have the bad with the good. So you can't have one without the other. And it's always, they always say, right when you're about to quit is when your break happens. And I found that very true. Every moment I'm like, oh, you know what? So frustrated and tired and crying, not sure if I'd ever make it. I just fought a little bit more and I got my break, and then on to the next. And that's really, I think, how I lived my life, especially moving out here. It's hard. It's hard. It's very different.
It's absolutely resonates with me. I feel for you. It is your choice that you as I like to say, I don't want to win a lottery.
Right.
I want to earn it. I want to make my money. I want to make my fortune. Yeah. So you choose to go through hardship, but you feel so much when you're achieving it. It wasn't given to you. You earned it.
Yes. And I think that's when you appreciate it so much more. And as well as when you fight for it and you earn it, then it's possible. I always thought, okay, if she can do it, why can't I do it? If he can do that, why can't I do it? So it's you fight for it. And then the next obstacle that comes your way, I already fought for this far. Okay, so I know how to fight for it. I'm going to fight a little bit more. You're not that entitlement, or it's not just given to you where you don't appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go to questions. Do you see the question in the chat from Jiru?
Okay, so do I push the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, is that what are you working on now or will be after current situation? Okay, so actually currently during this time, I have a mentoring program and I teach virtual ballet privates. I believe like during this whole quarantine process, unfortunately, as we know, doesn't allow us to take a pause on our training. And I do have a deep love for mentoring with my children and really establishing a healthy environment. And so a lot of my girls have found themselves frustrated. Summer intensives are being canceled. So I'm working more with them one-on-one, and we talk everything from nutrition to the ballet privates to training to the mental health, what's next, their career development. And I really do love this time that we are able to allow ourselves more time to focus on the details, because in classes, a lot of times my girl will focus so much on trying to get a certain kind of role versus what are the small little, I call them like tricks of the trade, like tricks in finding how your body connects with the one and really learning that technique from a slower true base. So I'm doing that. And then as well as I've been very fortunate that a couple of charities have asked me, I put on like a dance class, or I've done charity shows virtually as well. I'm currently working with Paul on a couple concept ideas for virtual galas as well. So really trying to bring in, because the Met has had a gala with opera singers. Andrea is actually performing live on Instagram. I've talked with his management a little bit, as well as incorporating the dancers. But so really trying to bring in a dance aspect virtually during this quarantine time, because I do believe, again, it's a means to escape. So just trying to reinvent myself during this time. I'm not one to be able to just sit down and not do anything. I'm like, I gotta go. So yeah, just working with a lot of my students and trying to get them to their dreams. Do you teach ballroom as well as ballet? I have taught ballroom, but I refer a lot of my ballroom dancers to Malene or, Armen. Like now I'll start referring, if I have boys, to Armen, or even girls, you teach girls as well. But I really, because ballroom isn't my base, I want the best for the kids. And so I know that I know better teachers than me in ballroom. So I would want them to get the best training possible, while I would hope the same, in the ballet world. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I can make you a ballroom dancer. I know there's way better teachers and that know the technique behind it. Since I did as well start much later, that I think it's important that you get that training. And it's not, for me, it's not about money. It's not about the privates. It's really just about, I want my students and these kids to reach their goal and their dream.
Absolutely. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
I like this sentence. We don't teach, how it says there? We don't teach kids to become a great dancer.
Right.
We teach dance for them to become great kids.
Yeah, I like that. It's true. I think like dance can help you in any aspect of life. Like even if you don't want to become a professional dancer, it's so important. I think dance, the discipline behind it, and just the poise and the understanding of the connection between your body. I think it's something that, even if when I have children, even if they don't want to become dancers, I do want them to be in dance and really understand that aspect of everything. I think it's extremely important.
Yeah, my little dancer is jumping right here, right now.
Oh, you have the cutest little girls.
Anyone who is on Zoom from my students want to go and reveal your microphone and speak?
Oh my gosh, this is so fun.
Raja, you always have great questions. You want to say something?
Today I don't have a question. Today I'd like to say that unlike you, I would love to win the lottery. On a more serious note, I like what Brittany said about people being true to who they are, being true to themselves. It's very important. And I think that this time of quarantine, we really can take advantage of it to learn who we are, especially young people. I mean, I know who I am. I've been here 73 years, I know. But the younger people, it's an opportunity for them to learn who they are and to tap into their inner resources, and not because they can't get with friends and they can't run around. So they get to know who they are and what they like. And you don't have to adjust yourself to whatever other people expect of you. Yeah. If you're true to yourself, you'll really be happy, even if you're not the greatest dancer in the world.
No, I completely agree. Like you said, that's when you're living the truth to yourself, you're living your ultimate life. Where I always tell my girls, like, they've lived their life. Whoever's telling you that you need to do this or live your life that way, that's their life. Like, who are you inside? Like, what do you love? And like you said, even if you're not the greatest dancer, but if you love it, then you're going to even progress just naturally because you love it so much.
Now, and you will become a better dancer if you love it. I agree. So, and I want to congratulate you on all your achievements, and you're still young. You'll go even farther in life. I see your attitude, and it's really nice.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as long as I really believe, like, I absolutely love what I do now. So I'm going to see as far as I can take it. And, you know, if I choose to transition, and I know it will be something else that I love, I think that I just really want to try and live my life the truest and the happiest that I can. You know, we have our down times, of course, but just being true to myself and the people that are around me and trying to instill that for those. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You just brought a big smile to my face.
Giroux, did you want to ask any question?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. I just wanted to say thank you, Brittany. It was good to hear your story and all the things you've accomplished. And I also did get to see Andrea Bocelli over the summer and see you dancing with Jordi. And it was really cool to see. I'm like, oh, I know that guy. I didn't know you, but it was really cool to see both of you up there dancing. And I didn't realize he had dancers there, even though I remember Jordi saying something during competitions that he's been traveling with Andrea Bocelli, and but I just didn't put the two together for some reason. And then when I saw you guys, I'm like, wow, there they are.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, like I was saying earlier, Andrea doesn't really need dancers, but it's a nice little surprise because it does bring that visual aspect. And I'm so excited that you got to see it, because it's kind of difficult to imagine until you see the show. When I tell people, they're like, oh, I dance for Andrea, they're like, so you're a backup dancer? How does that work? And I'm like, no, like, we're our own entity, a guest entertainer, or like a guest artist, and then you try and explain the stage, and they're like, I don't really get it. And you're like, you just have to see the show.
Oh, I totally get it, because you're basically explain to me. It comes across like you're sort of explaining the song through dance. That's how I kind of looked at it, and it's a nice break, I guess. I mean, it's lovely to see him singing, of course, but it's a nice added touch to have dancers on there.
Absolutely.
So I love it.
All reality, no matter how much you love music or an artist, it's nice to have a break or something different incorporated in, right? Even I don't think I've ever just sat somewhere and just listened to an entire CD without something else, you understand? And so to be able to have that little break, and that's why I love that this show has different guest artists. I think that it really continues to shape the show and keep people interested, and that's one of my favorite things about this show, is that there's a nice flow to it. So you have your opera, as you know, the operatic aspect in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful too.
Yeah. It keeps everyone engaged, which I think is really important, because with Andrea, we tour year after year versus doing one entire tour and then taking a year off. And it's kind of like eye candy, it's like a nice little visual of, oh, a nice surprise, and now there's something to watch, and to be able to to really truly get lost in the music and the movement. I love it. I mean, granted, I'm on the stage. Thank you.
Right. And then I started dance as an adult, like later, like in my late 40s. But anyway, and so for me, I'm just glad that I have something, especially during this time where everybody's sort of just hanging out at home, and a lot of people aren't doing exercise, or they're eating more and not really moving. And this is something I'm doing because I love it, and even though it might just be all through Zoom or whatever, I'm still pretty disciplined enough to do it. Even though I'm not a pro, I just do it because I love it. But
you don't have to be a pro. It's like you said, you love it. And I think, you know what, dance, my grandma always told me that dancing is the way that we express what dancing and singing is how we express what our heart is feeling.
Right.
And music. So during this time, I think it's so great, and you tend to love it more when you start later because you're choosing to do this. And then during this time, like you said, like we don't get access to gyms, not even to studios, but to have that in our homes just to get our body up and moving. And it's not the same as doing squats and dumbbells. You have music, and so to me, it's a little bit more light, but you're getting your body moving, you're releasing those serotonins. And so even for that hour, you're not only being healthy, but you're escaping essentially like the fact that we're in quarantine.
Right. And, you know, I realized too that some people were saying, oh my gosh, Drew, you do so much. You're on Zoom every day. You're doing all your classes all the time. And I said, it's really only 45 minutes to an hour out of 24 hours.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's really not that much.
Yeah.
Yes, I do it every day, but I don't do it for 12 hours. I do it for 1 hour and I'm done.
And you like it.
So,
it's like, even if you do it for 6 hours, if you like it. Like,
yeah, no, it's all good. I'm glad I have it, something to do. So,
I think that's
thank
so
you.
cool. Like, congratulations on starting dance, like, and dancing.
Yeah, no, I love it. Now I'll never stop till I'm 100.
I really think it keeps you young as well, you know, constantly moving and dancing. It's a great.
Keeps the brain young, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Jiro. Brittany, so the final question of this show is always, in your few words, in your understanding of success, what it takes to become a successful?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, I believe what it takes to become successful is staying true to who you are, and as well as putting ego aside. I think ego gets in the way of success because we never really know what can lead to another thing, in the sense where if I hadn't taken that job for Toyota, I don't know if I ever would have really gotten on the Andrea Bocelli tour, because that promoter saw me there and knew who I was and knew my name, even though he had asked my roommate. So that kind of gave me a leg up, knowing that he had actually worked on a job that I had worked on before. And I do know a lot of dancers tend to either it's a low paying job or it's not exactly what they had in mind and they won't take it. I mean, even the first tour with Andrea, the rate was very low. So I know a lot of dancers wouldn't have gotten it. And knowing, like, in my head that this is an investment. It's not about the money. It's truly loving what you do. So I would say truly love what you do and stay true to yourself and put aside ego. No matter what I don't think anyone's too good to do anything. Like, you never know what it could lead to.
Thank you so much for your answer. Where our audience can find you? What's your social media tag?
So my Instagram is Brittany O'Connor _ so BRITTANYOCONNOR _ and then if you just on Facebook, Brittany O'Connor, I'm there. I don't have a TikTok or Twitter, so it's just Instagram and Facebook.
You have a very beautiful website, so guys, check out BrittanyO'Connor.com. The pictures, I mean, you can see what type of level dancer she is by just looking at her pictures. I've seen those pictures before, Brittany, the one that you flare your hair in a powder. I never knew it's you.
Really?
So it popped up to me on some dance hashtag dance search and stuff. So people widely using your pictures, I would say, because they're so phenomenal.
I have people, like, it was just sent to me actually from Israel, and then I've had someone tag me in, like, in Dubai, and so it's like on different websites over there, and they're like, I think that's you. I'm like, yeah, that's me. And that was actually just with the photographer. We're like, hey, do you just want to get together today and shoot? And I was like, yeah.
I wish I can say, can I have this photographer contact, but it's not about only photographer. It's what you've created on the other side of lens.
I would love to share the photographer with you. But again, I think you go in, I was just having so much fun. And I never, like, I see different photographs and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But when I'm in there, I'm like, what do I want to do? What do I think is cool? I never try and recreate someone's photo. I'm just really in that moment. And we literally it was in a garage. he was like, I want to do something with flour. I was like, okay. So he just dumped a pile of flour in front of me, and I have long hair, and I was like, oh, what would be cool, you know? It all goes back to when, I think it's your inner child. I definitely have a big inner child.
And I hope it will always be there.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. And I'm so excited I was able to talk to some of your students and share my story. And I'm so lucky that, I mean, I have you a part of my life. And as well as I really admire who you are, Armen, and your dancing, and who you are and what you do with your students. Even before officially meeting you, I'd always heard great things from Malene and other dancers. So I was quite excited to be able to officially work with you. And now here we are. So
Thank you so much. Yes, everybody will see us in the same scene on Penny Dreadful in a few Sundays away, I believe. Again, it was a pleasure to have you. Your advice is very valuable, so I wish all my students will go and watch repeat on YouTube, re-listen to this, because there's very valuable nuggets for them to use in order to become a successful dancer, which will lead them to become successful individual, because it takes the same set of skills.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
I'm
so
also
much.
here if anyone ever has questions, send me a little question, and I love answering. So if you ever need any advice or questions, I'm always here. But thank you so much, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy, and thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.